I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, April the 2nd, brought to you in part by Zactran. Provide your calves with the BRD control they deserve. Treat them with one cost-effective dose of Zactran. Remember to observe your 35-day withdrawal period after treatment. For more information, go to Zactran.com or visit with a BI representative. A new quarter, and this is kind of what we've been waiting on. We thought that times were really going to be good, and since the start of the year and even back last calendar year, when we got to the end of the first quarter going into the second quarter, man, we were going to be tight on market ready supplies. Your feedlots were going to rule the roost. Packers were going to be getting all this beef demand, and their cutout values are going to be going up, and so they were going to be willing to pay more for cattle. Cattle were going to be up in the 20s a good ways. Of course, your feedlots were going to need replacements. They were going to be buying cattle. Some of those things have happened. Our feeder cattle got pretty high, especially the first 2 days of this week. I mean, just booming, got high. And then, of course, nobody was expecting the prospective plantings report to come out on Wednesday and show that suddenly we've lost about 5 million acres somewhere. I don't know if they're all growing pot with it or what's going on, but and I assume that they will probably come back in and give an adjustment or tweak that. But like I said on the last report, the damage is done, and your box beef cutout values are shooting up there, about $250 a hundred on Thursday afternoon's report right there. So that's going good, but your fat cattle still struggling, and we're just fighting, trying to get leverage on that. Man, did they play games on Thursday. I never heard so many reports of what bids were, whether it was from regionals or majors, and what area it was in, if it was in the north or it was in the south or where it was at. But I mean, juking and jiving and here and there, and we'll give you this. Well, we'll give you this, but we'll give you less for this. We'll give you the kickers, but we're not going to get them for 3 weeks. I mean, it was just punt here, game there, backup, just everything. But it was very interesting, and of course I get texts from different groups and try to keep up with what is going on, but it was wild. But fact is, we haven't even sold 20,000 head this week confirmed, so we haven't gotten along too darn good, and we got a lot of work to do here on Friday to get things finished. But kind of what else is going on? The board is going to be closed here on Friday, so that's a good thing. They can't hurt us anymore there. So we're looking forward to that. But the board being closed, it's always a good time to do business. But some other things that were happening, the Easter Day debacle up there in Washington, it appears that they've pled guilty to faking on paper that they had cattle there. It's just pretty curious to me that $200 million worth of cattle, basically 200,000 cattle in an area that has a lot of cattle, but nothing like your 5-area feeding region, or just didn't exist. And it was pretty close to where they were operating. I mean, wouldn't you notice that? You'd think you kind of would. I don't know. I think there's more going on there than what is you can see from the road, and a lot of other people think the same thing. How about some stuff out in Washington? Our old buddy, Kansas Senator Pat Roberts. We thought he was ready for the rocking chair. I think his body's ready for the rocking chair, but he has stayed in Washington and decided to join a lobbying firm. That's amazing. Now, he's the one that stonewalled us getting anything with your Senate Ag Committee for so long, and basically took direction from NCBA and Kansas Livestock Association there. But he's going to be taking money right out in front of everybody this time, cash in hand. I'm not sure if he's going to be working on any ag projects, but for sure he's going to be working with some big outfits that like to pay a lot of money for influence. So if anybody's been in DC, as long as some of these old guys, they can get some money. Charles Grassley's still there. Now he's older, and he doesn't miss Pat Roberts at all. In fact, he's pushing his 50-14 bill, and you got to give Charles Grassley a lot of credit. I tell you what, he pulls some weight. He's got some influence, and you can say what you want to say about him, but he works for his constituents. And he is working for Iowa cattlemen, and I tell you what, he is pushing the 5014 bill. And you guys know that I would rather them see the Cattle Market Transparency Act get pushed through. But if they can get the 5014 bill, that's great. If somehow we could combine it, get some flexibility, and get the additions that the Cattle Market Transparency Act, including the library of the Sweetheart Deals, and get the government to try to get as much information published in those reports and work their way through the confidentiality. If we could get some kind of a combination of those, that would be fantastic. But Charles Grassley just come right out and called out NCBA and then totally dissed them by saying, or whatever their name is. He thought it was still just National Cattlemen's Association. He knew they had done something to include the Packers in there, but couldn't really think what it was. But he said, whatever their name is. He just wondered why they don't want competitive bidding and don't want your Packers to be involved in that. I mean, basically, if you read between the lines, he was totally calling them out for selling out to the Packers, and that's the kind of the way he does that. But you know, it was right after some officials from NCBA had put out a statement and said the issue and the 5014 bill had really passed him by, right? Because, you know, they're pushing this 75% of a robust market thing that is not even a bill, it's just an idea. They haven't even adopted it, because if they had adopted it, we would have tripped so many triggers by now, just since they first announced it, that they would already, if they do what they say they're going to do, they would already be pushing a mandated minimum cash requirement, because we've hit so many triggers. But they put it up there saying that if it hit triggers, then they would get behind something, but they never really adopted it. So the fact that it has already hit all the triggers it would need to hit, they can just keep pushing that deal. And I tell you what, they don't want any teeth in anything. And, you know, continuing to push some kind of a voluntary, you know, idea there. And it's kind of like my friend Jack Payne out there in Nevada said, and I thought that was a good analogy there. He said, you know, pushing that voluntary deal, it's like turning steers out with your cows and hoping that they get bred. Yeah, right. Let's talk about your board on Thursday. April live cattle futures down 95 cents. We assume that. Now, we know we're going to get that on our first tender day, notice day for delivery, which is Monday, so a no trade on Friday, so they got a little bit ahead of that, but it's right there flush at 120, 120.02. So, you know, we keep talking about Monday being your first day of notice. So, you know, if people do start giving notice, that's just going to push down on the board. That's not going to help your cash market at all, but it will help a lot of hedged feeders because it could help their basis, or it will help their basis out a lot, and that's how those things come together. But 120.02 down 95 cents for your spot April. June down 35 cents at 122.55. You look ahead and going on your back months, down 60 cents all the way to your last published contract there, August 2022. It was up 35 cents. But let's look at your feeder cattle. April feeder cattle unchanged at 143.87. Your May down 17 cents. So that's a good thing. After all the upheaval that we saw on Wednesday, and we saw that prospective planners report, we saw your grains go up the limit, we saw feeder cattle down hard. Your April feeder cattle still unchanged at 143.87. Of course, we're getting into April. It's going to have to come together with your cash index late in the month, but there's no reason to tank that thing, because people are buying cattle pretty readily in the sale barns. May down just 17 cents, so nobody getting too crazy, and we've kind of washed over this okay. But May ended the day at 149.22 on Thursday. You go out front from there, and we saw all of them being up 42 cents to up 90 cents on your back months of feeder cattle. So that tells me that a lot of people think they're going to come there and give an adjustment on that prospective plantings. You just don't come up 5 million acres short, guys, And if you're, I don't know what the models say. I'm not looking at their models, but I know what people are telling me. They're telling me that a ton of anhydrous has been put down, early this spring. Everybody is getting excited about planting corn. They're excited about maybe getting a price for it this year. A lot of beans going to be planted too. And I think we're going to have record amount of planted acres of corn and beans. And we'll probably have record yields. Every year they make it where you can have more bushels to the acre. I wish they would make it where we had less acres to the cow, but they can't seem to do that. But on your Chicago Board of Trade, corn futures are kind of mixed, so they settle down. Beans were down big, over 30 cents on your nearby. So we got through that deal. It washed out a little bit, and I think by next week we'll kind of be back, and this has just been maybe a speed bump. It has hurt some of your markets and your sale barns. Hasn't hurt your fat cattle. Why should it? Didn't have anything to do with fat cattle. But by the time I give you some of these impressive quotes at the end of this report, you're not going to think things are too bad. How about your fat cattle trade on Thursday? Like I told you earlier, still less than 20,000 head confirmed. Now, there are probably some sales late on Thursday that haven't been in there, but tell you what, it was just wild and woolly on what the bids were, but a lot of bidding being done, not a whole lot of buying being done. Iowa, 2,800 head confirmed on Thursday, only 3,700 head for the week. Cash sales on Thursday, 117.5 to 119.50, almost 120. Now, those packers know that if they give 120, they can buy all the cattle in the world. That's what guys want, is 120. But they're just going to keep juking and jiving them as long as they can. They may end up having to give 120 to get the kind of numbers they need on Friday. Dress sales 188 on Thursday in Iowa. Nebraska, only 700 head. I'm sure there was more than that late Thursday that didn't get turned in, but only 3,300 head confirmed for the week. Cash sales in Nebraska on Thursday, 119. Live dressed, 188. Kansas, pretty good movement there, 10,300 on Thursday, 11,006 for the week. Mostly 117. One little deal at 118. Dress sales 185. So that's going to be sure a buck better on a live basis, and and a couple $3 better dressed there. So not too bad at all. Texas, only 700 head on Thursday, 1,900 head for the week. 115 to almost all 117. Consolidated beef producers, they traded at 117. That's a lot of the cash sales that we have in Texas. So 117. Kansas even had a few loads reported at 117. So the market's higher, but we haven't yet pricked that 120 that we want to get. Box beef cutout values sharply higher again. Now, in the last week, choice cutouts have gained $15 and select have gained 20. And on Thursday afternoon, choice cuts $249.97 up $285. Select $244.70 up $657. Packers still gaining ground even though they're paying a little bit more for cattle. The cutout values are more than overshadowing that. So they're growing their margins as they're giving just a little bit more for cattle. Slaughter, 471,000 through Thursday. That's 4,000 less than last week, 1,000 more than the same week a year ago. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Real-time index on DV auction, 141.72 on Thursday afternoon. That was up $1 smooth right there. So still gaining ground. Of course, we're dropping some of those lower prices off the other end of the 7-day moving average, but 141.72, based on an 800-pound steer. That's a lot better than we saw just a week or 10 days ago, but they'll bring more than that. So by the time we drop the rest of those prices before things really turned up late last week, we'll be quite a bit higher than that. So Pratt, Kansas, winter livestock, 7,000 head there. Market looked $2 to $4 higher on the early call, including 61 head, 922-pound steers at 138.25. That's a big price on some big steers there. How about Ogallala livestock auction? Ogallala, Nebraska. Look at this automated market report from Cattle Market Central. Almost 5,000 head there for the big special. and look at these best tested quotes. I mean, weights here, and they look like individual quotes, but these are all the cattle within that weight group at the sale that day. 772 head of 6-weight steers in Ogallala, averaged 644 at 169.95 on nearly 800 of them, guys, averaging nearly 6.5. That's including 91 head of 620-pound steers, had to have been stocker types, at 184.50. You heard me right. 1,122 head of 7-weight steers, averaged 740 at 154.29 on the average of all of them. 708 head of the 8-weight steers in Ogallala, averaged 836 at 144.30. Wow, I tell you what, you get out there in western Nebraska, cattle will bring it all. They're the best cattle in the world, and it's just amazing what people are willing to give for the good kinds. Some prices that I missed giving you on Wednesday out of LaHunna Livestock Commission, the honey sale there. LaHunna's a cow town. Winter's not the only game in town, and LaHunna Livestock Commission has a hell of a sale there. They had their 66th anniversary sale on Wednesday. 5,100 head there on offer. Big time sale, including the highest quote that I've seen in a long, long time. 46 head, 603-pound fancy steers in LaHunna, $190. Wow, that's a big time quote there. And then also had several smaller deals of 5-weight steers bring over $2 a pound. Most of those marked in a thin flesh condition. But glad to give some love there to LaHunna Livestock Commission. Boy, I'd sure invite them to join up with us and share their market information on Cattle Market Central, where I could talk about them a whole lot more. How about some other individual quotes? Billings Livestock Commission, Billings, Montana, 302 head, 619-pound steers, way up there in Billings, Montana, $174.50. How about Mitchell Livestock, Mitchell, South Dakota, on Thursday, 53 head, 813-pound steers, bring $148.75. But the best quote that I saw anywhere, and it indeed come out of Ogallala Livestock Auction, but your Zactran top quote for the day, 245 head, 709-pound steers, bring $162.25. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.